says new finish lines. It doesn't say if it's starting or not. Got it. Usually it gives us a countdown, but it didn't give me a countdown, Mary, so I don't know what's with that. Anyway, we are here in Anaheim, California. I am here with Mary Harmon, and she's really involved with the California Association of Realtors. Mary, what did you guys do for the last 4 days?
We had a conference. We had a conference where, for the last 4 days, we had a conference to inform, to enlighten, to make decisions that are going to impact the industry, but most importantly, we advocate. We are the largest association that advocates for the consumer's property rights.
That is awesome. Can you tell us anything of what you guys have been talking about for the last 4 days?
Well, there's been a long ongoing issue when it comes to property owners.
Oh, you're telling me. I'm a property owner, and I'm seeing what they're doing to property owners, and it's completely crazy. Tell us, please, what are they doing?
Well, what a lot of people don't recognize or realize that most property owners are mom and pops. And
me too.
They acquire property for the purpose of college education, retirement, and so forth. And there have been so many restrictions that it's having an impact on the property owners because of the freeze on people paying rent. The property owners were saddled with the burden of trying to make their mortgage payments without the rent that they receive, which helps them to make the mortgage payment.
What about, I heard, I heard, because I'm also involved, as you guys all know, California Association of Realtors were involved, and you guys got to get involved too, and Reimagine, oh my God, but I wanted to ask her, before I ask her about Reimagine, because there was over 7,500 people at Reimagine.
Correct.
I think that's the biggest we've ever had, but what I want to know about, what's this thing that they're talking about that I personally cannot collect 2 months rent for a deposit? Is that right?
That 2 months rent for deposit, but you need to understand a little bit. We're talking about the security deposit. And most landlords will collect a security deposit to offset any unforeseen damage that may be caused by the tenant. And sometimes that damage is accidental, but sometimes it can be deliberate. And then the property owner is saddled with the burden of the repairs, the cost of repairs. It can be very costly. Well, ordinarily they will collect 2 months rent for the security deposit, and that security deposit at the end, when the tenant moves out, is returned to the tenant,
right,
less any cost for repairs. If there are no repairs, they get the full amount back. If there's repairs, it's itemized and they get a portion of the security deposit back. Well, now that it's in the process, from what we understand, because we have been fighting this for months, if not years.
And we're fighting it along with the, what is that, the Apartment Association?
Correct.
And when we say we're fighting for a bill, we're putting up some dollar bills, aren't we?
Yes, it's costly, it's expensive. We have to pay for the people that, attorneys, lobbyists, and ourselves, our time and effort, going to the state capitol, going to our elected officials and telling them that this is going to do more harm than good. Because what's
kind of like rent control, right?
It's worse, because now it's going to have an impact on the property owner's ability to carry the property, and it's going to become so burdensome. They're going to say, you know what, never mind, I don't want investment property, I'm going to invest my money in something else, and they're going to sell the property. So now it's going to reduce the number of units, houses,
for people to rent.
That's
well,
correct.
And what I keep saying to tenants, I mean, first of all, if you're a tenant, you need to talk to us about becoming an owner. That's number one, right?
Yes.
Okay, but if you can't become an owner, you don't think you become an owner. This woman, she's like me. She knows how to tell you what you can qualify for. I can tell you how to reach her. And you know what? Both of us, you need somebody who's qualified to tell you, if you can't qualify for something now, how to set yourself up to qualify for something. But the scary part is if I'm a landlord, I mean, I think you've seen, because they know I live in Diamond Bar, but you've lived in Diamond Bar. Mm-hmm. There are vacant houses in Diamond Bar. And those are from investors who refuse to rent to tenants because what? Because they can't do certain things?
Because of the restrictions with rent control. it's becoming so restrictive that people are
So there won't
afraid.
be properties to rent. So
Correct.
and tenants don't understand that because when you go out to vote, because next year's a voting year.
Correct.
When you go out to vote, and if you vote against your landlord because something came up, or you're not just voting against them personally, you're voting against landlord, not just landlord rights, but property owner rights. So that when you buy a property, they're going to be putting property rules and regulations right on homeowners.
Well, for an example of that, because you're absolutely correct, but an example of that is when they imposed rent control. You had a lot of property owners that had tenants living in their properties for 5, 10, even 15 years.
And some of them, like, I don't raise rent.
And they hadn't raised the rents. Well, when rent control came in
and
became so restrictive, the problem is that now they were raising the rent. So you had tenants that had been going along for so long at a really sweet
low rent,
and all of a sudden, because now the property owners are being restricted of what they can do and when they can't do it, and you can't go back and make it retroactive, they said, well, I better raise the rent or I'm going to lose it.
And that's exactly what I did,
So,
because now you can only raise it a certain amount per month, per year, right?
Correct.
And what is that per month? Do you know what that amount is?
It
varies.
5% plus CPI, and it cannot exceed 10%, but it depends on the city that you live in, the county that you live in.
There's a bunch of different factors.
It is so convoluted and so confusing, and the fines are so heavy that it causes a great deal of confusion. It makes it so hard that the property owners are ready to give up.
Well, I have a really cool question for you, because I know some people will watch this and they're like mom and pops or people that are not involved in real estate. Like before I got as involved as I am, I just rented out my property and I said, okay, I want 2 months security deposit. And I did whatever I thought I could because it's my property and I'm renting it to them. But little do people who own property who are not involved know that what happens if I'm a mom and pop person. What was that guy saying about the 3 times the amount if you don't know what you're doing and you're a landlord?
Well, there's so many, but one of them, if you don't know what you're doing, they can charge you 3 times. They can make you pay 3 times the rent. There's restrictions for relocation to move the tenant.
So you may have to give your tenant we heard one guy had to give his tenant $25,000 to move.
Now,
if you want to get your person out of the house, you might have to pay them to leave.
And
depending on the city or the county.
Right, and that's excessive. I mean, most property owners
They didn't help me pay the taxes and the insurance on the house.
And the insurance.
Oh, that's a whole other thing, right? What happened this week about insurance?
Insurance, everybody's being made aware. A lot of your major insurance providers
if you want to buy a house
are leaving the state of California. And it's getting so costly for insurance that a lot of transactions aren't able to close, and they're seeking the California Fair Plan. But the California Fair Plan is limited with the amount of coverage that you get. As costly as it is, it protects you for fire, but it may not protect you for other things, so then you have to find another carrier that will cover you for liability.
Well, like we were talking about, not just landlords, but one of our persons with our association, his fire insurance just went up to $12,000, right? Mine went up to $12,000 too. So they told me if my mom moves into her house and does not rent it out, her fire insurance is only $4,000 a year. But if she has tenants in her house, her fire insurance, if she can get it, $12,000 a year. So I don't know why they keep attacking landlords, but I probably should. I won't say it while Mary's here because it's political and I'm going to try to stay out of political. But Mary, are we still going to what can we do to help the landlords and help homeowners and all that stuff?
Here's what people need to understand. And I'm going to use something that was told to us. When we're dealing and fighting hunger, the government doesn't go to the grocery stores, Albertsons,
and ask them to give us free food,
and tell them that burden now is going to be placed on them, and they have to start figuring ways how to feed everybody. So we're going to cut the price. Wouldn't that be nice? They're going to cut the prices on this and that. When we have issues with traffic, because we're not moving and the infrastructure is not moving as quickly as we like. I mean, we know how long it takes them to fix a road. They don't go to the car dealerships to tell them they need to work on that and fix it. So all of a sudden, we have a housing problem.
We have a huge
and
housing
the
problem.
housing
And that's another
problem-
reason we keep meeting, right?
So you can understand is that California should have been building, years gone by, 300,000 units per year. We're lucky if we build 80,000 units. So we are so far behind in the number of housings that we should have built already that's why there's such a shortage.
And with the shortage and the higher interest rates,
It's all about supply and demand.
and a lot of buyers are thinking they want to wait and see what happens. And we've been told, I've been going to meetings a lot for the last few weeks, and we're going to be going to more meetings next month. I have been told that, buyers are waiting for the prices to come down. Let me tell you something. Prices are not going to come down in California. That's not going to happen. And I want to shout out to Elaine, because Elaine was here. I saw her in the hallways, and she's saying, yeah, you guys, let everybody know. You guys need to wake up, especially you younger generation. You think that you're just going to sit around and someday you're going to buy a home. Well, you're not, because it's going to cost you $1 million to buy a one-bedroom condo in somewhere where it should cost you $400,000, right?
Right.
It's out of control. I'm going to grab Mary every time I go to one of these conventions, because she is very knowledgeable.
The advantage, and Sharon's absolutely correct, property values are not going to go down. And they're not going to go down for the simple reason, supply and demand. There's not enough units. And when you have an issue with supply and demand, it drives the cost up. So, but you're at an advantage as a buyer, because it's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market. But as a buyer, you have the ability, if you're with a strong realtor that will guide you and help you, that you can make an offer on that property, asking the seller to assist you with closing costs, to help reduce the cost of getting into that property. There are so many programs and product that's available to you to assist you, because if you're going to wait for interest rates to go down, the only thing that you're going to accomplish is that house is going to cost a lot more. And we're not looking for interest rates to go down, if we're lucky, till next year.
And they're saying 6.5. They're not saying, and I took pictures of the charts. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate the pictures that I took, and Mary took some pictures of the charts, and I'll get them up on my TikTok and my YouTube and all my things. But the charts are showing that interest rates, you guys, everybody's asking when they're going to go back down to 2. I'll buy a house when the rates come down to 2. And the California Association of Realtor economists, he was saying, he talked to us for over an hour. He's amazing. Jordan, his name's Jordan
Levine.
Yes, and you can, I don't know, they can't access it on the association website, but we've got to go because we have to go to lunch. But he's saying we'll be lucky if we get down to 6.5 next year sometime. But the thing that on the chart shows, and we know this, but I don't think a lot of buyers know this, is the thing is, you guys, interest rates are historically around about 6%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not, that 2.5-3% thing was a freak accident.
It was an anomaly.
Yeah, oh, I like that word. Well, Mary, thank you for joining us. You did an awesome job. I'm going to grab you every time I can. And you guys, join us, watch us, learn about real estate. If you have any questions about real estate, feel free to put it in my comment. Make sure you like us and subscribe, because I know you watch my videos so that you can pass the real estate exam. And Elaine, next time I'm going to grab you and do the same thing, so be prepared. We'll see you later. Bye.
Okay.
That was